Hi, you guys. Welcome back to Rocket City Yardstead. So you can see here, we've got a nice pile of my homegrown potatoes. I weighed out 2 pounds of potatoes and got them all nice and scrubbed up because we are going to make an antipasto potato salad. When I harvested all of my potatoes, I guess maybe this is a little bit strange, I don't know, but I just wanted to find some recipes that were maybe a little bit more special to use my homegrown potatoes in. And this one looks fantastic. So I just need to slice all of these in half and get them into my pot. The recipe calls for adding them to a pot of water, adding a generous amount of salt, and boiling them for about 12 minutes until they are nice and tender. I did want to mention to you guys, if you've been following along with the potatoes, I had said that I didn't know if they would be bigger potatoes or if they would stay little like the little potato company potatoes that we planted. And I have since learned that the little potato company potatoes are actually something called a creamer potato, and they are little when they are a mature size. So this is about as big as one of these potatoes will ever get. Very fascinating to me. I think the next time we grow potatoes, we may go for something like a Yukon Gold, because then we could have bigger potatoes, but also have like the new potatoes that are little and just get a bigger variety. But these are awesome, and I'm so excited to have them. So our salad is going to have potatoes from the garden. It's going to have red onion from the garden. It doesn't call for it in the recipe, but we're actually going to add some green beans from the garden, and it's also going to have herbs from the garden. If I had some, it would have cherry tomatoes from the garden, but we've actually eaten through all of the cherry tomatoes that we have gotten from our garden so far this year. So I had to go to the store and buy some. Not quite as good as homegrown, but these are the little cherubs. They're pretty good. So they'll be fantastic in the salad. Maybe we'll be able to make it in a few weeks out of the garden with the cherry tomatoes. Get our onion nice and finely sliced up. This one's a bit of a tearjerker, you guys. Ooh, I'm glad it's small. I'm just gonna slice our tomatoes in half and add them to the bowl that we'll mix our salad up in. Now that our fresh veggies are all prepped, I'm gonna add my onion into our bowl. We've got a few more things to take care of. So easy peasy, can I guess, of sliced black olives. And then I have about a 12-ounce jar of marinated artichoke hearts. I like to chop these up more finely so that they stretch farther in the salad and are more bite-sized. But if you like them nice and chunked and you buy like quarters, you could just leave them alone. I got mine from Costco and they come in quarters and halves, so some of them are pretty large. We need some meat. The recipe calls for pepperoni or sopressata. I like to do pepperoni and salami, but I think any Italian cured meat would probably work really well here. So it calls for a cup, and I'm just kind of eyeballing what that looks like. And I'm gonna chop it up into bite-sized pieces. Sprinkle it in our bowl along with all of our veggies. This is going to be a nice, refreshing meal, y'all. I'm actually filming this during the heat wave that so many of us in the eastern half of the country are dealing with, and a nice cold dinner is definitely preferable when the heat index is 103 outside, don't you think? Wash my hands up. And our potatoes are boiling, so I'm going to set the timer. We are going to brave this heat and come out here and pick some fresh herbs for our salad. We need some basil, and it's growing beautifully, so we can grab some of it. It looks like it needs to be pinched off anyway, so we'll do a good thing for the plant and for our salad all at the same time. We also need some parsley. And the recipe doesn't call for it, but I think we're going to go grab ourselves some chives. Because more fresh herbs can only make things taste better. These herbs are going to add such a nice, bright, fresh flavor to our salad. Got our fresh herbs all rinsed up, and I'm just going to pat these dry with a paper towel. Don't want to add too much water to our salad here, but they smell so good. So we're just going to roughly chop these and add them in with the rest of our salad ingredients. Keeping an eye on my timer, I want to add my green beans in with my potatoes for the last minute or so. I just want to blanch them a little bit, but still have them be nice and crispy. While our potatoes finish cooking, I'm going to get our dressing mixed up. You could use your favorite Italian dressing here, I think, and it would work just fine. We actually made this recipe about a week ago, and the Italian dressing recipe that came with the recipe is so good. I would make it just by itself to use in other applications. The first thing we need is a clove of garlic. It calls for it to be grated. I'm just mincing it up, and it works just fine. We need half a cup of olive oil, a quarter cup of red wine vinegar. I'm going to take the shaky top off so it doesn't take so long. I'm going to add our green beans in with our potatoes. We need about a teaspoon of Dijon. The recipe says a heaping teaspoon. I did just say that wrong, didn't I? A heaping teaspoon. A teaspoon of Italian seasoning. And about a quarter teaspoon of black pepper. It does not call for salt, but I am going to add some. When we made it last week, it needed a little bit more salt. And so I'm just going to mix it in with our dressing. Then we're just going to shake this up in our jar and let everything mix together. That mustard, if you don't know, is actually an emulsifier. And so it helps our dressing all come together and stay blended, that oil and vinegar. You can see a nice, well-blended dressing. You can see here the timer's gone off on our green beans and potatoes, and the green beans are just a nice vibrant green color. That's really all we were looking for, just for a nice little blanch on them. And so now we're going to drain these. You can see how pretty this is with all the herbs. I like to let my potatoes cool just for a little bit so that they don't wilt all of my herbs, but they do absorb the dressing better if they're still warm. So I just try and find the fine line. And then we're gonna pour our Italian dressing over and get this all tossed together. That dressing smells so good when it hits the hot potatoes, just all of those herbs. So good. But isn't this a beautiful salad, you guys? This would be great for a potluck or a backyard barbecue. And as the summer goes on, you could add red peppers from the garden, all kinds of things. Eggplants, some roasted eggplant would probably be really delicious in here. I think there's a lot of things you could add. You just make it your own with whatever you have. Like I added the green beans. But there we have it. So I'm going to let this cool for a little while, let these flavors meld, that dressing soak into everything, and then we'll come back and give it a taste test. So our potato antipasto salad has been sitting for probably 20-30 minutes, just letting those potatoes cool off. Personally, I think the flavors of everything just seem to come through better at room temperature. So here we go. Let's dig in. I'm going to try and get a bite with a little bit of lots of things. I don't know about if I can get everything, but this is such a delicious salad. The potatoes are kind of an interesting take, I think. Normally I would think of this made with pasta, but you have all of those salty elements, the olives, the marinated artichokes, the meats, and then you have all the nice veggies like the tomatoes and onions, and the potatoes even. So I'm a fan. I think the green beans actually work really well in here too. So if you've got an abundance of green beans coming in, this will be a great way to use them up. So thanks for hanging out with me today, you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.